And the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, swept to victory last night in the Iowa caucuses, following his rivals out of the water and winning in all but one of this state's 99 counties.
Yes, over 50% he got. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis came second, with former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley third. But with Trump so far ahead, is there now any hope for his rivals?
Well, joining us now in the studio is Sarah Elliott, Special Advisor for the US-UK Special Relationship Unit at the Legato Institute. And Sarah, thank you so much for coming into the studio today. I suppose this is the big question on everyone's lips. With Trump over half of that Republican vote in Iowa, there's, of course, all eyes on New Hampshire and then South Carolina. But really, he's got this in the bag, hasn't he?
That's what Iowa kind of marked in the sand, that the polling was right. He is 30 points ahead. There's nobody in punching distance to him. It will make it difficult for people, especially like Ron DeSantis, where a lot of his support would naturally come from a Trump base. Now, Nikki Haley, who's more of a moderate or independent, will find the next primary in New Hampshire much more favorable because there are more independents. In fact, Republicans, it's an open primary, so not just Republicans vote in that. We saw John McCain surpass George W. Bush there in 2000. This could very much be like where Nikki Haley overperforms and actually may overtake Ron DeSantis from there. But it's a lot of if that can then propel her even to her home state of South Carolina, which is next after New Hampshire. And then we get to Super Tuesday, where most of the delegates are determined by first past the post and winner takes all. So it could all be said and done, really, by March 5th.
Very exciting. We were asking at the top of the show, what motivates Trump supporters to get out in that blistering Arctic blizzard weather in Iowa, to go out there and vote in such large numbers? What is it about him?
Well, I think it's more about his opponent, which is Joe Biden, who is, you know, his approval in some polling is the lowest ever on record at 33%. He's losing Hispanics by double digits. He's losing black support by double digits. Young people now favor Trump in some polling over Biden. In fact, all three of the top Republican candidates right now could beat Biden in a head-to-head. But I will say the Iowa caucuses were especially cold yesterday with a negative 15 Fahrenheit. And that cut turnout much lower than 2016.
So that's about minus 30 Celsius, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
minus
roughly
20
around
Celsius.
there.
Blimey, that's
Very, very cold, but
very
they went
nippy.
out in numbers.
But it's interesting looking at Iowa sort of in isolation, because before it has thrown up some unique results. It's when Rick Santorum won against Mitt Romney in 2012. It's when Pete Buttigieg won against Joe Biden last time around in 2020. Sometimes it throws up fairly quirky results that don't necessarily match with the other states. But you don't think that's the case here?
Well, I mean, we're dealing with Trump, right? He breaks all the rules. And in fact, he broke the largest margin of victory ever recorded last night. Only two Republican candidates who have won the Iowa caucus have gone on to the White House since 1980. So it's not a good barometer of who will actually take office, but or be the nominee. But it kind of starts the process, and it does make people start going, well, where are the evangelicals going? Where are the moderates going, et cetera?
One of the things you mentioned earlier was how all of the Republican candidates now left in the race, Trump, Haley, DeSantis, they all in polling beat Biden. There had been some talk about whether the Democrats swap Biden out. That was several months ago. Now we're at a much later stage in the race. Do you think there's any chance that perhaps Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, steps in and swaps out for Biden, or are things just too far gone now?
No, I mean, nobody in the Democratic Party has voted in a primary yet. So, I mean, anything can happen. You know, many Democratic pollsters and consultants are saying we cannot win with this guy. We need to replace him. And there's nothing more than what Democrats love is power, and they will do really anything to take it. At the convention with Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders had most of the delegates, but the superdelegates, they all went for Hillary, which some people say was a behind closed door stitch up. So we will have to wait and see. It could be that we have Joe Biden throughout the primary process, and then someone new arises at the convention, which is in August.
That's going back to sort of what happened in the 1970s when I think it was Ronald Reagan in 76.
Yeah.
He didn't really run a big campaign, but then suddenly at the convention he almost became the candidate.
Yeah, so there was a lot of, you know, kind of fudging and meringuing and loyalty. I mean, this will be the year to watch. We're also dealing with two men who are, you know, around 80, over 80. I mean, things happen. So, I mean, God willing, they won't. But, you know, you never know with someone's health. It's going to be an interesting year. I think external factors play a big role. At the Legatum Institute, where I'm at with the Special Relationship Unit, we're going to put the heart of the Anglo-American relationship at Legatum, and we're going to be following how can we strengthen the economic and national defense policies between our two countries, regardless of who is president or prime minister. And this year, we're choosing both.
And Republican voters, what are they most angry about at the moment? Is it the economy? Is it illegal migration? Is it wokery? What is it?
I mean, you've named them all. I would have to say the border is number one. I know we complain about small boats here, but we literally have had 7 million people illegally cross our border. 7 million people, almost the same number of people who live and work in London. And they have caught over 190 people on the FBI most wanted list and terror watch list. And those are the ones we know of. Right? There are over 2 million gotaways. We call them gotaways. It is abysmal for them to even get in a court hearing to know their asylum status. It will take 7 years because the judges are the courts are so overflooded with these applicants. They're given a number, and we hope they show up in 7 years.
I mean, it does really dwarf what's going on at our border, doesn't it?
50,000 illegal small boat arrivals in the UK last year, the highest for many, many years. But 7 million, it's just a completely different ballpark.
10,000 a day, I heard.
Yeah, well, 58,000. I think we had, in a 5-day period, we had 54,000.
Wow.
What you have in a year, we've had in 1 week down there. So that is infuriating people because that will change. You know, of course, they're not all going to be good characters, but we don't know who they are, right? Maybe a lot of them are probably just people wanting an economic future and freedom and to be rid of where they lived before. But a lot of them will probably be up to no good. And we know that because we've caught people on the terror watch list.
Well, I mean, you don't need to justify why a country needs to be able to control its borders. Thank you very much indeed. That was Sarah Elliott, Special Advisor for the US-UK Special Relationship Unit at the Legatum Institute, who are backed by one of our co-leading investors. Very interesting indeed. That issue of illegal migration is absolutely massive.
It is, and I think it's hard for people in this country to get their head around. The US, yes, it's a larger country. Around 350 million people live in the US. Around 67 million people live in the UK. So, I don't know, that's 4 or 5 times larger as a country. But in terms of the illegal migration that's coming in, 50,000 compared to 7 million. It's just almost unquantifiable, the degree to which that's a higher level of illegal migration.
And that's something that a lot of voters believe Trump will make his #1 priority.
Yeah.